Okay, so here we are going to do a little painting of the Griffith Observatory.
Where is that?
That's in LA. And we're going to paint our little festival announcement with maybe at sunset, LA, typical LA sunset, really atmospheric. Since we're talking about atmosphere, I thought it'd be a good one.
Pollution.
Using the particles in the air from all the exhaust in LA, how it just sits there in LA. So the first thing I painted was actually the top of that dome, because it was a great way for me to just quickly figure out where's the light coming from and the overall for this kind of cool, kind of diffuse light.
Yeah.
Coming from the sky. So yeah, and then getting our focal point in there, the pig. But you could see already, like, I haven't painted in the city where he's going to be looking out over this city. But even here, I'm starting to think about atmosphere and how it's affecting the sky.
I see. So almost squinting at it, like you can't really see, but there are like a cityscape kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Just drawing in this dome. And that part of the Griffith.
So this is kind of like a diffused, but sky, like you're painting almost with the sort of a cooler sky feel light, diffused light source.
Right, rather than a neutral diffused light. Yeah, it's a cool kind of sky fill. And
is that because you have something in mind, or
what's that?
Is that because you have some lighting set up in mind that you had instead of doing a neutral overcast like we did?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just imagined this LA sunset. I mean, I grew up down there, so just painting this how I remember the atmosphere. And then we have this kind of hill, this foreground hill transitions into a city. And I'm really trying to stay loose with the city because I don't want to sit there and draw every building.
Yeah.
And so that's where atmosphere actually really helps, because it simplifies as it goes into space, becomes these really graphic shapes.
Right.
And you can see the influence of that blue way back in the atmosphere, far away.
Right. Wow, it really does look like a cityscape in the distance, huh?
Yeah, I really tried to put it far back and really get that sense of scale of the buildings and everything by really indicating in the foreground, in the midground actually, the scale of a building almost from just the dashes of paint. Painting some planes, catching some of that cool light, but also the shadows, and letting the shadows really be cool. Warmer.
The shadow being warmer, yeah. Totally, yeah.
You can really see that in the trees, how warm that green is, in the shadows versus
on the cooler
side.
Cooler light side. Yeah, that's cool. I see. So here, with this atmosphere affecting the look of the background, you have this kind of blue haze over. So everything, if you squint, hasn't changed as much as you think. Like in the beginning, you had this just a very loose blue wash, but if you squint, you still have that feeling. Is that kind of, you were trying to capture that feeling
from the get-go? Yeah, just to kind of get that feeling in there in the beginning. Yeah, absolutely. And here I'm just really refining the drawing. But overall, with atmosphere, the tricky part is always the transition to me.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of know what that value is way back from the distance, and I can look at foreground objects and kind of see like, oh yeah, okay. But it's really that stepping back into space that makes it feel atmospheric to me. That makes the space feel real.
Right.
And that's kind of where, things get tricky for me. And this is where I think, a bit of the warmth of the sun hitting it is back behind the atmosphere as well. But it's not blue, it's a bit of, there's a bit of warmth in it.
Yeah, like a pinkish orange.
Exactly. Yeah, I think one thing that I always used to make, we talked about it a bit, but I always used to make a mistake of everything just goes blue.
Yeah.
But, it has a tendency to feel like it's underwater when it does that. So trying to avoid that. And here I'm just really refining the drawing of the trees since they're closer objects. I just wanted to put a bit more information in them. Get some palm trees in there for LA. And then I also want to bring in a bit of warmth in this foreground light. because I feel like it's hitting that back, those buildings a little bit in the back there, back in the atmosphere. So, I'm going to want to bring in some of that warmth into the foreground and into the midground.
Oh, wow. That's the light hitting the back of the dome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, so it's just warm influence. Very, very subtle. It's not as strong. Like, that's the tendency we always have when, you have this sunset lighting. You kind of make it super strong, but you chose very subtle because everything is cool so that it still kind of has a nice punch without becoming too overpowering.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely, given that everything else is a bit neutral, it felt like, it would be too strong if I went in with like an orange light and started painting stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. So, but in this case, the atmosphere really simplified. If again, I keep squinting at it. The atmosphere is really simplifying the background so that you still have a clear sort of, focus in Pig. Pig is looking at the direction. So we definitely do look at that direction, but Pig is really the one that you never lose.
Yeah, that's the hope. That's my hope. So should we look at other atmosphere?
Yeah, so what would you do on top of this,
Yeah, let's look at the next example.